Hey guys, this video is just going to be, I'll try to make it, a quick review of a game I just finished, and that is Xenogears for the PS1. This is a game I've always wanted to play for the longest time. I didn't own a PS1 growing up, so I missed out on all the great RPGs released for that console. I know this one's held in high regard. It's known to be one of the greatest RPGs of all time. Hell, one of the greatest games of all time. Just never played it. So I did dive into this not too long ago. It took me 52 hours to complete, so it's a long one. But what can I say? I loved it from start to finish. Really, I agree with the masterpiece sentiment that people have with it. And I'll kind of go into, the different aspects, what I liked, what I didn't like about it. I guess starting with the storyline. The storyline is overall the reason you'd want to play this game. It's definitely the best part of the game. It's a very epic storyline. That's the best way I could describe it. Very, very epic. There's a ton of different themes to it. You've got your, your sci-fi themes, your religious overtones, some philosophical themes. It's a very complex plot. It can be definitely a bit confusing or convoluted at times. You're always going to have questions playing this game. You'll never truly have all the answers up until the very end. But, the cast of characters is just phenomenal. A lot of really inventive and cool plot twists. The plot can maybe drag in certain spots, but overall it's definitely the highlight of the game, and without spoiling too much, I'll just say it's flat out brilliant. It's really quite something. As far as gameplay goes, Xenogears is fairly traditional, with the exception of its dual battle system, I'd say. Other than that, it's your typical world map, typical exploring vast, huge cities, talking to people, and progressing the storyline. The battle system is set up into two different parts. You have your on-foot battles and your gear battles, or mech battles, really. The on-foot battles, basically, you can have up to 3 characters for both battle systems. The on-foot battle system is maybe the least complex of the two. I found it the more enjoyable of the two. You basically input different combos with the triangle, square, and X button. And this combo meter can get higher the more you play the game. So you input different actions. A weaker attack is the triangle button, the square is the medium attack, X is a strong attack. So you can chain together different attacks. The battle system is set out in kind of like the old school Final Fantasies, where it's it's time based. Depending on the speed of a character, they get to go first or last, and enemies of course take their turn. So it is a turn-based system. The interesting thing though is the death blow mechanic. So once through repetition of certain moves, you'll gain death blows. And those are basically certain combinations that unleash very powerful attacks. And using different attacks and death blows gives you action points. And if you can get a ton of action points, which it's hard to do that in the beginning of the game, but later in the game you'll accumulate quite a bit of them. You can pull off a bunch of death blows in a row. I found the key strategy for winning, for the on-foot battles at least, was to really get those death blows out. Even the weaker death blows are far more effective than just using standard attacks. So the on-foot stuff is never really a challenge if you abuse the death blows and use healing properly, and always remember to keep stocked on items. So again, it doesn't sound like much, but because of the really cool and quick animations and the fast pace of the battle system, I really enjoyed the on-foot stuff. The mech stuff works out a bit differently and is quite a bit deeper. Your mechs have far greater HP, but they also have fuel. If you run out of fuel, you can charge it by a small amount, so you really want to avoid running out of fuel. And fuel governs your attacks. Just like with the on-foot stuff, you can use light, heavy, and medium attacks with your gears that all waste a certain amount of fuel. And you kind of raising your attack level by using weak attacks. Depending on your attack level, if it's level 2, you can use a weaker kind of death blow, I guess, with your gears. You can get it up to an infinity mode where you can use some really powerful attacks with your gears. So the gear system is a bit more complicated with the fuel. You can also use a booster mode, which basically, at the expense of more fuel, you're allowed more attacks in a certain amount of time. So I found the booster was definitely effective in boss battles. You know, you can get different abilities through equipment. Equipment plays a huge role in Xenogears, and equipping the right equipment at the right time can really help out for certain bosses. And a lot of the Xenogears, or the gear battles, boss battles, I found actually quite challenging. You had to really use specific strategies to win. You know, some enemies will cause your gears to suffer fuel leaks, for instance, or get their engines blown out. Really a great deep battle system with regards to the gear stuff. I can definitely see a lot more people enjoying that aspect, but for some strange reason I kind of prefer the simplicity of the on-foot stuff. But both battle systems are great. You won't be disappointed when you have to do either section. I'd say there are more gear battles overall in the entire game as opposed to the on-foot battles. As with any traditional RPG, a lot of Xenogears is spent in dungeons. These dungeons are mostly well designed. You know, they're not too mazy, and they've got a nice, some nice exploration to them and some pretty basic but fun puzzles. That said, there were 3 particular dungeons that were annoying, and you know, if I were to replay the game, I'd really would rather not have to go through them again. They were kind of a pain in the ass. The first dungeon is kind of like a sewer system. It was really just completely maze-like. I could never figure out where I was going. It was really kind of a pain in the ass. Then you had the Babel Tower, which in this area you control your gears. This game actually has platforming in it. When you're in your gears, you can actually do platforming, and there's quite a bit of it in Xenogears. This particular dungeon, though, the Babel Tower, platforming was a real pain in the ass due to some camera problems and the fact that you had to basically climb up this tower, and if you fell down, you'd have to go up all the way back, and you'd lose quite a bit of progress that way. It was quite annoying. And the last dungeon that really pissed me off was the final dungeon. Just a really maze-like dungeon with annoying puzzles. Very easy to get lost. I did. The annoying thing about it is the fact that it is the last dungeon, and you just kind of want to get the game over with, and then, you know, this dungeon just stops you dead in your tracks. But, you know, besides those 3, you know, some really great dungeons. The platforming overall is rather fun, with the exception of that Babel Tower. And exploration is always fun, too, because of all the different items hidden around. You know, a lot of side quests in this game, too, actually. I was surprised. It's a fairly linear game as far as the storyline goes, but towards the end of the game, you can go back to a lot of different areas and find hidden goodies. Yeah, really, really cool in that way. What else am I missing from gameplay? There is a lot of the dungeons are designed in a way where you'll have to walk on foot and then get in your gear and then, you know, get out of your gear. So that was really cool. There's some interesting puzzles using that. Your gears can be fully upgraded, and you'll want to do that anytime, any chance you get. You want to upgrade your gears, because that helps out in a lot of the boss fights that are thrown at you at random moments. There's quite a few characters in the game too. Unfortunately, a few of them are actually left until right near the ending of the game, so I didn't actually get to use them all that much. It was kind of odd how that worked out. A lot of the characters you wouldn't get until like halfway or even near the ending of the game, which was quite odd, I thought. Visually, the game is... I'm sure it's quite a bit dated for today's standards. Me personally, though, I can appreciate the visuals in this game. I find them quite charming. You know, the character models up close are extremely pixelated and blocky. The environments are rather nice, but when everything is up close, it tends to look a bit ugly. I find it endearing. I don't know, these old PS1 and 64 graphics, I don't know, there's something about them that just, I love it, I love it. This game, you know, the environments are fully 3D, so you can rotate the camera, which, that can get annoying in spots. A lot of the environment will be blocked by certain parts, other parts of the environment, so that can be a bit of a problem. You know, frame rate's rock solid. The animations, like I said before, are absolutely fantastic. I love the animations in this game. You know, the environments themselves are nice and varied. I mean, they run the gamut from desert environments to snow environments. Everything's all really nice and detailed. A really great world map. I love world maps. I don't know why, I just, when an RPG is lacking a world map, it always feels like something's missing. Overall, visually, just a great game, though maybe not for everyone. The soundtrack. The soundtrack is, one of the reasons why so many people love Xenogears, and I'll definitely agree. I think the soundtrack in this game overall is fantastic. There's not a weak track on it, and at least 2 or 3 of the songs immediately have gone to my MP3 player. That said, I found a lot of them not particularly memorable, and for such a long game, there's actually not many tracks. You'll hear the same songs over and over again, so they do start to get repetitive because of that. But really, that's a minor nitpick. The soundtrack in this game is just overall fantastic. Great stuff. Of course, composed by Yasunori Mitsuda, which, he's known for the Chrono Trigger soundtrack, which is my favorite soundtrack of all time, as I'm sure a lot of others' favorite soundtrack of all time. So, yeah, overall, the soundtrack's amazing. One of the best parts about the game. That will about do it for my little mini review discussion of Xenogears. Just a fantastic RPG. It's already probably one of my favorite JRPGs I've played. If you haven't played it, I definitely recommend it, especially if you're an RPG enthusiast. I know you can get it on the PlayStation Network on the PS3 as a PS1 classic. That should be a pretty cheap way to play it. If you want a PS1 copy, it's a bit more pricey. I think it's $30 to $40, sometimes upwards of $50, which I feel that's entirely worth it. I'm definitely not disappointed in the amount I paid for it. I paid around $40, I think, on eBay around a year ago. Yeah, overall, Xenogears, fantastic game. I can definitely see why people love it so much. So if you love RPGs and you haven't played Xenogears, I highly recommend you, grab a copy or get it off the PSN network. I want to thank you guys for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you later.